All right, welcome to Wise Up on Air. So excited to be here with you today. My name is Damian Kaspauer. I'm a software product manager here at Audiokinetic, and I want to kick it off talking a little bit about Wwise 2025.1 because we're here to celebrate the integrations of it. But before we do, let's talk about where we're at full release. If you've joined us over the summer of beta, we've been talking about the features of Wwise leading up to the full release that happened a couple of weeks ago. And we saved one piece for this final presentation, and that is the return of the fader. This is a UI element that got left behind when we transitioned to the new property editor in Wwise 2024.1, and we're bringing it back for 25 based on feedback from folks like you out there using Wwise. So now for the voice and bus volume, you have the option to choose between the vertical fader or horizontal slider, bringing back some of that visual muscle memory for the properties that you reach for on a regular basis. So jump in and give that feature a try. We saved the best for last, and now you have it all as part of the full release. Check out all of the other cool stuff that we've done as part of 25.1 in our What's New, as well as looking back on this year's beta hands-on from the beta 1, where we detailed exhaustively the features that we put in the box, to our beta 2 focused on the media pool and our similar sound search feature. The beta 3, which improved workflows for dynamic mixing with side chaining, multiband dynamics, and that parametric EQ graph. 8 bands of visual parametric EQ. Not to mention our spatial audio acoustics features that we detailed, going deep on the new dual shelf filter, giving you a more realistic representation of filtering over distance and when using environmental curves, as well as our game object 3D viewer toolbar for toggling visibility in the game object 3D view. Dig back into those live streams to find out what's in the box. We're here today to talk integrations and Wwise 25.1. I'm going to welcome to the live stream now some special guests that we have with us. So welcome to the live stream, Benoit and Hugo. Hey, you made it.
Hey.
Hey there.
All right. So what do you think about a couple of introductions first? Because some of you we've seen here on this live stream. In fact, both of you.
Yeah, it's been a while for me though.
Yeah.
So hi, I'm Ben. I've just finished my 13th year with Audiokinetic in October. So I lead the integrations team, handling both Unity and Unreal goodness, managing a team of now 4 developers and 2 QAs, of which Hugo is one of those devs.
Hi, I'm Hugo. I've been part of the integration team for almost 3 years now. And in the last few years, I've been mainly dealing with the addressable integration, but I do touch on some Unreal stuff, which I'll be presenting the Diamond Dialog in Unreal today.
Awesome. Well, it's a gift to have you here for our last live stream of the season. And I can't wait to give folks a peek at what is in the box. We're going to do some live demos, so thanks for bringing those. We're going to detail some of these features, but let's take a high-level look at things before we dive deeper. So one of the things in 25.1 is the new Unity Wwise Browser. Benoit, talk a little bit about what the Unity Wwise Browser brings to the authoring experience when you're in Unity.
So yeah, Unreal users will be familiar with the terms Wwise Browser. So it's essentially a way to connect the dots for your asset management. You're working with Wwise, you got your Wwise project, and then you generate your sound banks, you bring that over to your game engine, and then in your game engine, you got your game engine assets that you need to handle as well. And sometimes you can lose track of where everything is. So I think it's been 2 years ago where we introduced 2 or 3 years where we introduced the browser in Unreal Engine. Yep, there it is. And then over the years, we realized that it was really a good view to empower the asset management workflow for sound designers, technical sound designers, anything Wwise related you need to do in your game engine project. You can go from there. You can preview sounds. You can do quick WebP manipulation, etc., etc. So once we knew where we wanted to be with the browser in Unreal, we decided to bring it over to Unity, essentially. So within the Wwise browser in Unity, you can, at a quick glance, see if essentially you forgot to generate your sound banks. It'll show you which assets are out of sync between what the browser sees through the WebP connection and what it sees in the generated sound banks folder. Same thing there. It's one view that replicates the important hierarchies you need to keep track of when you're working in your game engine. So it's one window where you have everything you need right there in your face. You can preview events going through WebP, so it'll use the latest sound design you did in your Wwise authoring tool, and you'll be able to audition them even if you're in Unity. So let's say you're browsing your assets, you want to find the perfect ambient you're placing. What is this one again? Just hit spacebar, you get it there without leaving your game engine. So yeah, that's the new for people that have been in Unity for a while. That replaces the Wwise Picker window. By the way,
That's it.
yeah, one convenient thing is it also gets rid of that little drop down we had where you had to choose your data source, whether you were using WebP or the generated soundbanks. Now we use both at the same time and present the information in a way that makes sense.
That's great. Yeah, unifying these workflows across Unreal and Unity, updating the Wwise Picker now as the Wwise Browser, and for folks who are working across multiple projects, maybe multiple game engines, we now have a unified way to see beyond what's in the project into what's shared with Unity, giving you that understanding. We don't think about asset management as the most exciting part of game audio most days, but having these tools within reach for technical sound designers and the audio team means you can be a good steward of your impact on the game. You can have a clearer understanding, and it's things like the Wwise browser that put that in your hands and in front of you to understand with clarity. So congrats on bringing that to Unity now and unifying those workflows for people who are working across engines.
Yep. One last thing I forgot to mention, for people working with addressables, we've actually worked on making the browser window extensible by external code. And an example of that is the Wwise Unity Addressables package defines a custom column in the browser telling you what addressable group your asset is in. So once you install the Wwise Unity Addressables package, you get that new column that appears in your browser, and you get a bit more asset management related information in there.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Cool. Folks out there who are tuned in, be sure to drop any questions into the chat. We'll be happy to circle back and answer any questions you have. Moving swiftly forward, let's talk about gyms. This is something that we've been out here on Wise Up on Air talking about before, and I know that the integrations team continues to work towards gyms as a valuable part of the development pipeline. Do you want to talk a little bit about what gyms are and maybe even give us a demonstration?
Sure. So gyms was a project started by an intern almost 4 years ago now. That intern now being part of the team. You might have met Victor in a few previous live streams.
Yes.
So it's essentially one Wise project, one Unity project, and one Unreal project all together into a single GitHub repo. And it contains bite-sized samples / tests of things you can do with the integration. For example, you want to know the most basic way to post an event. We have a small example on how to do that from C# in Unity and from Blueprint in Unreal. You want to see a few sample implementations of spatial audio. There's a whole family of spatial audio gyms in there that are simple enough for you to just, let's say in Unreal, open up the level blueprint and see what was done in there. You don't have the weight of an entire game, and especially for Unreal, it's spaghetti goodness in the blueprints to comb through. It's just right there in your face. It's been a slow ramp up. Like we've made them public, and we're starting to easing into integrating that into our automated tests internally here at AK. We're starting to create a few samples. You might see some references in the Unreal and Unity documentations to specific gyms. It contains, for example, examples on how to use C++ in an Unreal game using the Wise APIs, etc., etc. And another use case that is interesting for people that are customizing the integrations. Well, you got a big part of our automated test suite right there in the gyms. So if you want to know if you broke anything, you can hop into the test automation windows. So in Unreal Frontend in Unreal and in the test automator in Unity, run those tests and you'll see if your integration modifications broke anything. Or if it's intended, you can just adapt them to your needs. An interesting note is there was a community fork of the gyms for the Godot integration as well. So most of them were re-implemented in Godot. I'm not sure if it's actually live, but I know it's being worked on. So it is out there on GitHub. Just go and grab it and have fun with it. It's also an easy. Well, we're working on making it easier, but it's an easy environment to get up and running where you have Wise integrated in your game engine of choice. So if you want to do a quick test or a quick reproduction case for a problem you're having, you could just technically grab the gyms, create a new one, and start blueprinting or C-sharping away and create your reproduction case. So yeah, we have plans to use gyms internally for many things. And one thing we did do over the course of 25.1 was to see how it stands up in a web browser. So using the Unity gyms, we've actually integrated the Emscripten integration in it and made them run in the Wise browser. So yeah, showcasing that, hey, even though it is an experimental platform still for Wise, it is possible to get things running in the web browser using Wise.
Let's do it. Yeah.
You get the same experience as if you were on Windows, and then you get sound. You can return to the main menu. So yeah, the web build in Unity is running in a single-threaded environment, so things are a bit on the slow side, but yeah, it'll be a nice test bed for us to try and optimize things as well.
Great, and I'm
So
seeing all kinds of stuff like basic features for adding sounds to animations, localizing voices. There's just a ton built into these gyms to help you understand how Wwise works in the
yep,
context of the different engines and integrations. Wow, there's a
yeah,
ton
of
here.
course, what you're seeing here is the runtime part of a game engine project, so you can't go behind the scenes and see what did they do to get those footsteps working, right? See, so small demo here where we change the switch value based on the surface you're walking on.
Great.
If you're interested to see how you do that, grab the gyms, go look at the specific map where we implemented that and explore away.
I love it. I love it. That's such a great tool, not just from the understanding what is there and how it works, but as you mentioned, towards validation testing for developers who are customizing their integration and want to ensure stability over time. So congratulations on rolling that out. Folks, good to see you in the chat. Let us know if you have questions. Anyone out there using gyms right now as part of their education, testing, or workflow? Anyone built any gyms that are interesting? Always looking to expand those, and yeah, keep them peeled. Stay tuned.
Yeah, and I mean, if you do come up with interesting use cases and samples and things like that, let us know. As I said, it is on GitHub, github.com/audiokinetic/gyms. I mean, if you want to send us a pull request with your demo, we'll be happy to have a look.
Awesome. Cool. Moving swiftly on, let's talk about dynamic dialogue. This is a feature that we brought to our Unreal integrations, and just giving you a high-level picture of that up front. Dynamic dialogue in Wwise is uses a set of rules and a decision tree to determine which sound to play at any particular moment in the game. It's was initially created with the idea of taking in-game dialogue and being able to update on a moment-to-moment basis what a announcer was saying in response to the game, again, moment to moment. In the example that we have here with a hockey game, being able to sequence dialogue events as information is coming in from the game. So you can use it to create and manage a list of queued dynamic dialogue events, stitching these events together with sample accuracy, and meanwhile specifying a delay time between dialogue events. Well, there's a lot more to it, and it's not just for voice. So dialogue as a word is, encompassing of this idea of being able to update things on a moment-to-moment basis. We had a great presentation from our friends at Formosa talking about the game No Rest for the Wicked and how they use the dynamic dialogue event system across many of the gameplay features in their game, from footsteps and cloth foley to damage, impacts, spell casting, just a ton of things that they harnessed this other way of switching as part of the dynamic dialogue system. So to have your mind expanded and to start thinking outside of the use of dynamic dialogue for voice, definitely check in with that presentation that they gave at Game SoundCon. I'm going to hand it over to Hugo here to give us a hands-on demo of the dynamic dialogue in the Wwise and Unreal integration, and we'll circle back to talk more details after that. Hugo, ready to rock?
Yep. So yeah, I have two demos, or two really quick demos. It does go back to voices in this case, but obviously, like was mentioned, there's many other ways to use dynamic dialogues. But I just want to showcase how it is actually easy to use now with now that it's integrated in the Unreal blueprints. So I'll start with my setup in my Wwise project. I have, so this is the setup for the first demo. For context, it's kind of like an RPG game. And what I created here is a demo where an NPC has a voice line based on the playable character equipped armor and weapon quality. And this demo showcased two features of the dynamic dialogue, which is the weighted mode, which is one of the two modes, as well as the base path feature. And with those two features, I was able to create something kind of interesting, I believe. So if we look at an example here, the first one here is the switch value for our armor, and the other one is for the weapon. And what I did here is I had a really low weight for this combination, which is a legendary armor with a common weapon, which will have the NPC really rarely being a bit nitpicky and talk about their really low tier weapon. But at the same time, with the ability of the base path, I was able to have, it is kind of the same path because this one says that it takes any of the switch value for the weapon, so you can take the common. And this one has a weight of 75, and it mentions the legendary armor, which result in your NPC 75 time out of 76 mentioning the legendary armor, but really rarely mentioning common weapon. And what I did here with the legendary armor plus weapon combination, it actually has the same weight as the legendary armor plus any weapon. So whenever you have both weapon and armor set to legendary, it will, at a 50-50 rate, mention either the weapon or the armor. And that's the idea of this demo. If we go into Unreal to show it live, I have my NPC over there. I have my really basic inventory. And if we go with the first case, which is the legendary armor with a common weapon, and I go near him.
How did you get your hand on that? How did you get your hand on that?
He's really impressed about my legendary armor. But if I switch to both legendary and if both my weapon and armor being legendary.
How did you get your hand on that? How did you get your hand on that? Never thought I'd see it with my own eye.
So he alternates between the voice line I've
How did you get your hand on that?
And I mean, it's still chance-based, so he did mention my armor a little bit more, but he will change the dialogue, and it's kind of a way to have an NPC talk about either or instead of just the armor or the weapon. So that's one of the demo I was able to do with the dynamic dialogue. And if I go with, I can show the blueprint too.
Great.
It's really simple. So I have my NPC blueprint. It gets the actor, and it gets the rarity of both the armor and weapon, and then it does a select, which selects the switch value that we want to send. It puts it into an array, and all that we really need to post the dialog event is to call this blueprint function, set our dialog event that we want to send, and send it all the switch value we want, and it will select the right path. And in this case, since it's weight-based, it will occasionally use one or the other dialog, whichever, as long as the path matches what was sent here. And my other demo uses the other mode, which is the best match mode. This one is basically based on the switch value you send. It will just select whichever matches the switch value that you send the most, and it will play the sound that's associated with it, in this case, the voice line. This demo is another RPG demo where you have the character buying an item to a merchant, and the merchant has different voice line based on what is a lot of parameters. So you can see here, there's the type of gear, the rapport between the NPC and the player, the quality of the gear, and the durability. And what I've already done is added all the paths, which basically what you have to do is select all the switch value, press add path. It will create an entry, you select the sound. One thing that's really cool with Dynamic Dialog is you can here, this one I didn't add it, but you can add a path with just a generic entry for here for the quality switch group. So this means that if in Unreal you only send a value for the type as armor, the rapport is familiar, and the durability as heavily used, but you do not send any value for the quality switch value, it will use whatever sound you have here. If you do specify the quality switch value, it will use either or that are defined here. But if I remove them, then none will be defined, and whatever switch value you send, it will always choose this voice line. And this could be useful in cases where, like, for certain combination, one of your switches have no impact, and it should always use the same voice line. So you could use the base path. I don't have it implemented, so I will just remove what I added.
But it's such a great way to implement this kind of fallback system where you can establish, the defaults essentially, and then continue to build out with specificity in these, paths that you've created that are the intersection of the different switches.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and all there's left is really just showing it in my demo here. So my merchant is over here. I did a little debug menu to set my switch for value properly, so I can change the rapport and select the type, the quality, and the durability. And whenever I select it, I can play it.
Unique protection, tested but sound. It is a worthwhile acquisition.
So this is with the unknown rapport, so he's a bit more distant, and if I change it to friendly.
This unique armor has already saved a life or two. Now it's ready to save yours.
So he's a bit more friendly, and yeah, that's pretty much it. And the blueprint is really similar to the previous one. My merchant has a bunch of enums that I set. Sometimes it's with key press, for example. Here is a little debugging. There's definitely a better way to do it in blueprints. But you set those values, you send the proper switch value into your array, you send it to the post dialog event, and it plays the right sound. I think there's only one thing I want to point out here, is that in this case, I do use the order path value, even though it's the default value, because here I sent the rapport switch value before the type, which is not the same order as in my Wwise project. And so if I enforce an order path, then the NPC just won't talk to me because I didn't define this order. So I think the order path is nice to control, or to have a little bit more control to ensure that the proper switch value are being sent in the right order. But the default value is false, so you don't usually need to worry about it. And yeah, those were my two quick demos. I just hope they give some idea of what Dynamic Dialogs is able to do. And obviously, it's not all of it. I definitely encourage to look into our documentation, and as well as the gyms that were mentioned earlier. There was a few gyms that were added during the 25.1 release that goes through some basic Dynamic Dialog stuff, but also more advanced stuff. And yeah, that's it for me.
Amazing. And, again, we're seeing all of this through the lens of blueprints, but all of these are available over on the C++ side. In addition to blueprint nodes, again, like masterfully crafted on those demonstrations, two different ways with dynamic dialogue. Thank you for preparing that, Hugo. Again, not just for dialogue, anything can be brought in and arrive as part of a dynamic dialogue system. You can preview them. You have these paths that you can create along with arguments you define that can be resolved and sequenced. There's just a ton in the box to kind of unlock you from the way that switches work inside of authoring, and really expands on what is there as part of a switch container. going even deeper into that runtime specificity as we saw in the demos from Hugo. Any other thoughts on that, Benoit? Anything else to bring?
Well, and that's just a part of the dynamic dialogue system. The slides you showed earlier with that hockey announcer
Yeah.
and all that, you got a ton of features in which you can build your dialogue on the fly in the game and all that. All of that has been exposed to Blueprint. There was only one thing we could not expose to Blueprint, and that was one of the systems where you need to do some operations within a callback from the Wwise sound engine. Those unfortunately are not possible to be exposed to Blueprint because Blueprint run on the game thread and Wwise runs on its own thread. So unfortunately this was not possible, but I mean the rest of the dynamic dialogue features have all been exposed to Blueprint. What we've shown here today is a starter of probably the most common use cases for dynamic dialogue. But yeah, I mean, if you want to do anything crazy, nothing is going to get in your way.
Great. We dropped a link to the documentation for dynamic dialogue. As Benoit said, dig in. There's a ton in the box. We've got a great example from the team behind No Rest for the Wicked, expanding it beyond its voice examples. And yeah, just another way to bring that dynamic runtime sequencing and specification as part of your interactive workflows. So congrats on, yeah, really polishing that for the Unreal experience so that folks can leverage that within Reach. Nice work, team. That brings us to the end of what we have prepared. If folks who are joining us have questions, please feed us in the chat. But otherwise, I wanted to talk a little bit about the 25th anniversary of Audiokinetic. 25 years at AK, a tremendous milestone, coinciding with the 25th release of Wwise. That's some kind of magic to make that happen. And we'll be circling back at the start of the new year to bring you our Wwise Expo Online. This will be a chance for us to check in about the full release. We'll try to bring some of what we learned throughout the beta, as well as prepping something a little special for this. So get signed up, subscribed, and liked, and we'll come back to join you in the new year. Getting excited to land here soon. Folks, great to have you along for the chat, and great to have your demos here today, Benoit and Hugo. Thanks for being part of the community and the integrations of Wwise out there.
Yep, thanks for having us.
Awesome. Quite possibly the shortest Wwise Up on Air we've had in years. So I will attribute that to the clarity, your preparedness, and just how well things went today. So,
well, you know, there's going to be another one in the next year for a whole other subject that is a bit too long for today, right?
That's right. So keep them peeled. If you're interested in integrations, we're going to continue to bring you other pieces along the way, and can't wait to round back up next time. Cool. All right.
Thank you.
That's it. We've got a Wwise Up on Air, last one of the year. Everyone have a happy new year. Wishing you the best, and we'll see you on the other side. All right.
Happy holidays, everyone.
All right. Take care.
Take care.